All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to GameChamp, your number one spot for everything esports and gaming. I'm your host, Jay Stilla. Today we have one of my friends. For a while now, we've been playing some games, hanging out IRL. I know him in real life. He actually is a League of Legends player, ex collegiate League of Legends player. So
Yep.
I'll let you take it away, let you introduce yourself a bit.
Name's Davis. I go by Base Win on essentially everything. As Jay said, I'm an ex-collegiate player. I used to play for University of Washington's League of Legends team as a support player. Um, and yeah, that's about it.
So he used to play collegiately in esports. So tell us a little bit about how League of Legends and the esports community works in college. Like, what did you guys actually do?
See, I feel like this kind of predates um when things were more established. When I joined, it was more of like a there wasn't it just was kind of getting started. Even though esports has been for a while, like collegiate is really relatively new, or at least not even like officially recognized by schools yet when I first started. So there wasn't that much support other than the students. And since we're in college and everyone's busy, there wasn't as much structure. Um, we had like meetings and stuff like that where we had like papers of what we were like obligated to do, try to like keep up grades and like try to work together as a team, stuff like that. But um yeah, not much. It was just more like, hey, we have games this day against this school. Hey, try to get some solo queue games in. Hey, let's scrim this team and whatnot like that.
Okay, so like around just to give him like a time frame, like around what years was that? Since like were you actually a part of that team and going to college?
Yeah, yeah, I think it was about at least. Oh, I can triple check here. I believe it was at least 2 to 3 years ago. Let me see. Yeah, it was almost 2 years ago.
Okay, so it was so at that time the esports teams were more of like a club, I guess,
Yeah,
like set up
essentially
more
more of
like a
like a
club.
club. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys actually, but so was it like a lot of did the club like owner or leader, I guess, run like try to run everything?
So how our club, it was called like WGA, Washington's Gaming Association, but then under that was like a subdivision for League of Legends only. It was called like Purple Caster Minions, and in there was like a president. There's a treasurer and all that stuff. And under those people there was the collegiate manager essentially. He used to be on the team previously, but then he stepped down since he wanted to focus on his senior year, and so he took more of like the collegiate leadership position. um and yeah, essentially they kind of like set up most of the most of the games and like who gets drafted onto the team and whatnot.
Okay, so or like tourney wise, right? Like, did you guys was it like money pools that you guys is it like money that you guys get in your pockets, or was it you guys competing for like I guess scholarship funds or like money like stuff
Yeah,
that would pay off your tuition?
yeah, so I think during that time Riot did have like a collegiate um tournaments going on for like all the schools.
Hmm.
That one there was like a big prize. I think like $10,000 for scholarship grants for each student or on the team. But we didn't make it far in that. But we would also run through like smaller schools that were set up. So like um, while it wasn't like super big, supported throughout like the schools and stuff like that, a lot of students were really passionate about um playing League of Legends collegiately at like X high level. And so lots of schools would kind of come together, talk to one another, and try to set up tournaments to play against each other. And either it would be like riot points, or like if it was like they had a lot of funds, yeah, it generally be just like scholarship money, not like cash straight up.
Okay, so and also like I've been doing like a lot of research in esports and stuff, and I see that there's a lot of gaming like scholarships and stuff. Did your clubs help you with that at all, or is that something you have to like search for on your own? Like,
No, we didn't have any of like I don't think that conversation ever even came up other than like the prize pool. Like it we never really played for scholarship money. It was more of definitely just for fun. And just to kind of have like a competitive uh setup. Like like back then, like in League of Legends, there was like the rank 5v5s and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And I guess a lot of people were searching for another outlet of that because it wasn't like Riot didn't always have that on their client, so they wanted to at least form some team and play at some competitive level. So it's just more for fun and passion for sure.
Okay. Was there a lot of colleges involved when you guys would play against other colleges? Was there like a wide selection, or was there like a smaller pool? Like,
Yeah, it was actually relatively big. I remember playing against multiple schools like Oregon, Wazoo, Arizona. Uh, yeah, a lot of those schools. We I think most of the teams we played against were in the Pac-12 conference. So like like Stanford, UC Berkeley, and like some Canadian schools too. So I think there was like a tournament just for like Pac-12 schools, and we couldn't played in those.
nice. Yeah, it makes sense though, because I think Stanford is, at least historically, I think the first college to really have esports. I think it was like the
Oh
first
really?
recorded place. Yeah, they did like some weird. It was like asteroid competition or something back in like,
Asteroid or
yeah, like whatever the first asteroid was. I don't remember what the
uh,
original name was. It wasn't asteroid first came out, but it was definitely that's what it looked like.
yeah.
So like, cause so for the esports thing, like, how did you come across that? Like, was it just something you
Oh,
found while like going around campus looking at all the clubs?
that's actually I actually don't remember how I came across it. I feel like so at UW during like the first weeks of school, lots of clubs come out and like set up tent and like kind of advertise their what they're doing and whatnot. And I think I came across the gaming one, and I thought it'd be really cool to join a club that when I was something like passionate about with like League of Legends. And I think I went to like multiple meetings. Oh, and also I had a friend in it that was like upperclassman of me that told me about it. So I think we went to like the meetings and we went to like the viewing parties and stuff like that. And I think it came up that they were just like trying to build a team just to play for fun and like compete. And
Mhm.
I tried out for it essentially. And as you can tell, like as you see, like there's not many players that like playing support. So like I was like one of the top picks essentially. Like I didn't have to compete against many other people, so it was pretty easy for me.
So like, you didn't know like anything about, like, what was your like esports knowledge going into college?
Ooh, I used to play a little bit of game battles. I don't know if you remember that from like Modern
Yeah,
Warfare
I did.
2.
I did
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Call
yeah.
of Duty. I did game battles in Call of
Yeah,
Duty.
yeah, Call of Duty game battles. That was like my probably the most of my knowledge of game battles and like MLG when they used to run like Call of Duty tournaments of like Optic and FaZe and all those old clans essentially.
Mhm.
Um and yes, like that's mostly what I knew. Like other than that, like before it even predated like esports, there was already a lot of like teams from like quick scoping and like montage clips on YouTube.
Yeah, I
So like
remember that.
that's where I kind of I guess where I started to see that there was a scene in gaming.
Yeah, that's when I first, I think, as well. But it was like around, I think, 2007 was, I think, when I first started really seeing it, because I think that was around the 360 time, like the Xbox
Yeah.
360. Because I didn't have a PC until like 2012, but like on Xbox 360, like on the live marketplace, you they would like always air the MLG competitions and stuff on there, and
Yeah.
that's when I started seeing all that. And then obviously like Phase, that's when like I think Phase first started taking off because
Yep.
they were just posting on like YouTube videos all the time, like of all those ridiculous quick scopes, no scopes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
360 no scopes.
Exactly. Like they like essentially created all like the cool skill shots like throwing the knife and then 360 jumping off the ladder and hitting
Yeah,
those crazy
and all
jump skills.
those,
Yeah, yeah.
that whole like time period of like crazy Call of Duty montage videos
Yeah.
where that was
They
like
were sick.
was on YouTube. But
That's
yeah,
what made me want to like buy the capture cards. Like back then, like
yeah,
everyone wanted to buy a capture card, put it onto Xbox and upload because it was really hype.
yeah. It was definitely a early time. So, but yeah, in high school, so like you, so like obviously, like I guess we kind of had the same experience, right? But did you? You never really looked at it more so from a perspective of like, I guess, possible career path, huh?
I mean, I think I did when I hit. So I peaked in masters around I think the end of middle school. Oh no, sorry, not end of middle school. Like end of high school and like freshman year of college, and that's when I thought like I was good and like maybe I could do it. But then I realized like a lot of my friends that were already in Challenger and stuff like that that were younger than me, and I never got to Challenger. So yeah, I didn't really see it as like a career path just because I never was able to like hit the top of my top gaming level essentially. I thought it was good, but never like good enough.
Yeah, so yeah, I know. I feel like at least when it comes to players, right, trying to be in the esports scene, I feel like they're like I don't know. It's kind of weird, right? Like from my perspective, obviously, even the pros say that there's definitely a shelf life for players. It is
Yeah.
definitely really young, but as far as like if you look at the LCS and like a lot of the pro leagues out there for different games, a lot of the players are ranging from like anywhere as young as like 18 to as old
Yeah.
as like 29, 30.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
mean, I
think
noticed like
was it Double Lift is pushing that, right? And so is like Dominate. It will Dominate.
yeah, I mean, I don't doesn't play competitively anymore, but like Deadlift, I think he's in like his 25, 26, somewhere around there. So yeah, he's
Yeah.
pushing like I guess the shelf life that people will say, but
Yeah, but he's still
uh
considered like one of the best ADCs in the league. So it's kind
yeah.
of I don't know, it's weird, right? Like, because I feel like that might apply more to shooters, but even on shooters, you got a lot of people from like early to mid 20s.
Yeah, I think when it comes to like reflexes and stuff like that in FPS, I think the shelf life is definitely shorter. But like in League of Legends, I feel like the game is more not about reflexes and stuff like that, but more about game knowledge and like mechanics. And
Mm.
that's something that I don't it's as you grow older as much. Like I think for that's why like Devil has maintained his like position for a while is because he understands like the game and he plays a lot. Um, and he just has like a good networking system, you know. So he's like set into the gaming history, I guess.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good at definitely establishing himself in the history of esports.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't.
but
Yeah, I was gonna say like everyone always says like in NA there's not that really good ADC talent, and so that's why he's probably also gonna stay because um
well,
yeah,
I
there's no ADC.
I actually did like a video on this yesterday, 2 days ago. It was like the main topic was toxicity, right? But I
Yeah,
was kind of talking a lot about I don't know if you've seen Voyboy's video
yeah,
when he
yeah. I
posts
did.
on Twitter. Like he's like I don't know, he's definitely made like a lot of points. I feel like a lot of the community's been having for a while. Like, but I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, you reached masters, right? Did you feel ever like obviously you're pretty humble when it comes to your League of Legends skills? Because I mean, if you've reached masters, you obviously know the game and you obviously have
a
some
little bit.
skill. But like from a objective perspective, right? Like, did you notice any like fall off like how he did when you were playing ranked? Like maybe it's not just that you're not that good anymore. Maybe it's just more so um like what more valid to Voiboy's point that like our rank at least in the NA region, right, is just I don't know, diminishing, like getting really toxic and becoming super hard to even climb because it is a team game, right? But
Yeah,
unless you're playing like because you can't even five stack in solo queue or like for the ranked, right? And if you five stack is a completely different rank.
yeah.
So like as a solo, like trying to climb the solo slash duo queue ladder is almost, or at least from his perspective and a lot of pros perspective, has been like close to impossible.
Yeah, I
Like,
think in his point of view, or like what his point was more of a, I see it more at the high level, and especially if you're pro, just because when you're streaming, you know, people want to stream snipe you and make like your life hard and miserable, and it's like funny and like get some easy kick W's in the chat and stuff like that. Like Michaela, Tyler One's girlfriend was talking about it, like she doesn't understand why like people like troll explicitly Tyler One, but like as you can see as a viewer, it's really funny when he like rages and whatnot, and like you know like stopping him from getting to challenger, which is his goal. So that's why if you notice, like he hasn't streamed in like I think a few months now at this point because he doesn't want to deal with that shit.
who Tyler won?
Um, yeah, Tyler One.
Oh, I didn't even
Um,
notice. I mean, I did notice
yeah,
that he wasn't really popping up on my recommended anymore on Twitch, but
yeah, but that's I think that's actually his reason why like he doesn't want to stream as much anymore, just because people are like trolling him and stuff like that on stream and trying to get him to rage. Um, but for me, when I was playing in solo queue back then, I don't. I mean, it was. pretty bad people are obviously like just always toxic. I don't think at any uh level there's like a decrease or increase.
Mm.
There's definitely increase for like streamers just because people want to make fun of them. But when you're playing solo, it's always coin flips essentially. Like some people will just troll, some people will rage easily. Um, but it wasn't always. Yeah, to your point, I don't think I started to fall off the game just because it was too toxic. I feel like I could usually deal with that pretty easily. I don't really type in chat to anyone unless it's like a really bad, and then like I do get mad a little bit because I feel like that's anyone that's competitive, you'll get mad
Mm.
off people just not trying or just not focusing on the game. So, um, but yeah, I didn't fall off because of that. I think I just fell off because the passion wasn't there anymore. League is fun still, but I don't know. It's not as enjoyable when I was a kid anymore.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's like I think the almost consensus by a lot of league players, even the top. Right? Like it's falling off, but I don't think it's falling off as fun just because it's not a fun game or it's not enjoyable or we're outgrowing it, right? Like I think it's oh the community has been getting more and more toxic, I guess, as because the game's been around for a while, and it might just be I think like it's interesting to look at it, right? Because League of Legends early on was great. Everybody was trying to be good. Everybody was trying to
Yeah,
compete. And as time goes on, it's almost like I don't know, people I feel like might hit their peak and feel like they hit their peak and then just they lose that drive and they lose that ability to try and they're still playing ranked though because they like the game.
yeah,
But they're just not trying as hard as they used to. And I think that might be what we're experiencing because I feel like that happened like the community is almost starting to reflect that of like CS:GO, which I think we're approaching like the not shelf life, but like how old CS:GO is,
mm,
and their community I think is just as toxic.
yeah. I mean, it's just like, I mean, if you look at Valorant, it's like the epitome of toxicity right now. Like, it reminds me of like Modern Warfare 2, like, well, not as bad as Modern Warfare
Well,
2, but
like the thing
as the
was,
Rage Quit and like,
like Call of Duty, I don't think it never really had a ranked, right? Like as when it
no, yeah, I
first
didn't.
like it was I was it wasn't until like recently. It was like maybe 2 3 years ago that they introduced it. But so I mean, I feel like that might be why it wasn't as toxic because I feel like competitive games are fun, and I think it's good. Like it's a good thing for a lot of players, but I think it's the competitive side that makes it a little bit toxic
Yeah,
because I mean, every like people think they're the best or they don't think they're the best. And it's usually the people who think they're way better than where they're placed that are being like the really toxic ones.
yeah, inflated ego. Yeah, they just,
Uh,
I don't know, usually the people that like in my games are have that type of ego, they usually just give up. They're like, you don't deserve this win, like X, Y, and Z, and they're like, oh, you lost lane already, the game's over. Like I tried my best, and then they just give up. It's really annoying. It's mostly the people that just don't want to try anymore. I don't really get the people that like intentionally feed as much anymore.
hmm. Yeah, it's almost because I feel like at the higher elos, like around diamond ish, you get more of the flamers as opposed to the trolls.
Yeah,
Because the ones who are like at diamond obviously feel like they're performing at a diamond level, but if you're not performing to their standards, they just get tilted.
yeah,
Because in the lower elos, I think is where you find a lot more of the trolls, right? Like
yeah, definitely.
that's where the trolls hang out. The higher elos is where the flamers hang out, and there's just like the
Yeah,
different tiers of like toxicity that you go through as you're climbing.
yeah,
Because like the lower
that's true.
tiers, like a lot of the times, even lower tiers, you'll have like Smurfs
Hmm.
left and right, especially like Smurfs that don't want to try, so they Smurf and then they just ruin it for people who are like try to get better
Yeah,
at the game, but they're
yep.
trolling their games. And I think I remember watching a video about this. It was like a year ago now. It was a while ago. But somebody was talking about why NA region is like, as far as League of Legends is concerned, is so far behind every other region
Hmm.
as far as like skill and players. Like I think we've the NA has NA even won single worlds?
No,
Yeah,
sadly,
so
no.
I mean we came close I think in like season 4 or 5. It was one of those seasons, but
Yeah,
still didn't win. But like a lot of people, like someone was breaking it down. I don't know if it was Dominate or Double If because I know I watch a lot of their videos, but they're talking a lot about how like NA region has tons of Smurfs. Their top players have Smurfs. So instead of like constantly competing at that challenger level, playing against those level of players, they have Smurfs that they'll like grind up to that level, which doesn't help them with their skill level or doesn't help them improve. And they were comparing it to other regions where like if you look at Korea, which is like the top one, right? Like none of them have
Yeah.
Smurfs because like they can't, right? Because a lot of
Yep.
their games are tied to like social security.
There's Social security. Yeah.
So like that's one of the main reasons that a lot of the pros feel like the NA region's falling behind is because they're forced to play at the elo that they're at day in and day out,
Yeah.
and so they're constantly like improving. But NA region's
I
just,
didn't actually.
what was it?
No, go ahead. Finish with that.
I was just gonna say in NA region, like they have like so many like people have like Smurfs, and they're just not like some players probably have the potential to be up there and maybe new talent, but they're stuck around diamond ish, and they don't push it farther. But they just make a Smurf, so they don't have to try as
Yeah.
hard in their games.
Yeah. I think people. I mean, like people always make fun of NA because like the for fun region, and it's exactly like that. Like you make a Smurf just so you can pub stomp a little bit more and like try your new strategy or whatnot on like lower elo people and see if it works out or not. Um, but yeah, I've never heard of that theory, but that does make sense because even in China, I heard that once you get challenger, you can actually go to like a separate server in China that like only allows like challenger level people, and like if you troll and whatnot, you get like banned off of it. I don't know how true that was, but it makes sense that like people kind of try a little bit more when you're in that elo just because you want that status or like um what you don't have the ability to make more accounts like in Korea where it's tied to your social security number.
Yeah,
In
that's
NA, yeah, I know like people make a lot of Smurf and like as you can see, like I think like Pole Belter or like someone had like 6, 7 accounts in like Challenger before. And sure they're still playing against like Challenger level people, but you're not I guess not fully invested in your main account and trying to be like number one all the time.
hmm I mean that's a good system. I feel like the Chinese one that you talked about. Like if you're in challenger level, like instead of like having the same people be in challenger and like three or four of their Smurfs taking up those challenger spots, you just kind of like move people that make it to challenger into like a special bracket, or maybe like say in the League of Legends launcher you unlock a new ranked like playlist
Yeah.
where you can only challengers are able to queue up in that playlist, and therefore like making more room for other players. Because I feel like the problem is we don't in NA we don't have as big of a pool of like players to pull from, because it's always like the same people almost every year or every
Yeah,
season
and
hitting
we
those
just pull from
challenger
other regions.
brackets. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it kind of reminds me of like a ESCA or like Face It on like CS:GO. Like once you get global elite, you can like go into their own dedicated servers that like allow people to play like comp matches essentially, and that's where like people like pull from like talent and stuff like that instead of just seeing like if you're global elite or not.
Yeah, yeah, because they have their own rankings, right? You could be global elite, but then someone goes and like, because I've heard, uh, I was in like a Discord with a bunch of like ex CS:GO like pros, quote unquote,
Huh.
who like, because we were playing Valorant, and they were like, some guy said he was like global elite, and then some guy was like, that rank doesn't matter. Like, what's your face it rank?
Yeah, exactly. Like the Face It and like stuff like that. I feel like I mean I never played in it or like did more research in it, but yeah, it seems like that's where people see like if you're actually good or not. Because Face It's where like people that actually try and want to go pro play in. I think that's like where Tens and like Stewie 2K and like basically all the pros got like uh drafted from because they saw how good they were in Face It and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like what we're missing in NA is like a semi-pro league. Like we have the academy,
Academy.
right, in the
Yeah.
LCS, but I think we're missing more of like a semi-pro league for like all games. Because I feel like Riot's ahead, obviously, because they're a global company, global game, so they pull from different regions when it comes to setting things up. But when it comes to like all their games, right? Because I know like in Korea, it's like it's been esports has been a thing since like late
Forever.
'90s.
Yeah. They
Like
started it, I think. Yeah.
yeah, so like they take it serious. There's definitely a stronger esports culture there as opposed to NA, where that's probably why like even EU adapted it before the NA. I think that's why but they dominated the FPS scene more so. But they're
Yeah,
still competitive as far as like league goes too. Like they definitely hit the semifinals a lot more. They've won a couple
yeah,
worlds, and so like they have that established. I just think there's still like this super taboo mindset towards gaming right now, which is what's holding NA back from being competitive globally.
I see. Um, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of like I mean, I feel like ESPN is really recognizing it a little bit more because they've been like kind of streaming league games and like there's a lot of backings, like a lot of companies like Red Bull and like top like companies I guess have been sponsoring it. And, like there's a lot of money into it right now. I don't know if that's necessarily holding them back though. That like people don't recognize it. I feel like I don't know what can't tell what exactly is holding them back, but um
Well,
from
because
like the boss perspective, they always say that they're not that behind from everything. Like they always say like, oh, it was like a few misplays that, didn't let them win the game and whatnot. Um, but yeah, I just feel like I don't know. This seems like because there's maybe more money into the thing too. People have like inflated egos in NA or something.
that could be it. Yeah, like I don't like because it's kind of hard to pinpoint, right? Like I just feel like the more obvious ones are NA is not as established as the other regions yet as far as esports. I mean, there's definitely a lot of money, like you said, being poured in with a bunch of companies,
Yeah,
but that's like recently, right? That's only like the past, I think, year really that
year
you've
two. Yeah,
started seeing actual like mainstream companies in the NA starting to sponsor
yeah.
esports. And I think a lot of it started with a lot of like I like to think the NBA helped it a lot
Oh
because
yeah, like
there's like
the
tons of NBA
I
players who back
yeah,
the esports, and it's funny because they understand like it's actually like they actual athletes appreciate esports more so than like the general population.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they see the gaming, they're just like, "Yo, this man's nuts. He's got some crazy skill." But everybody else is like, "He's just playing a video game, right?" Like, there's also tons of videos I've been seeing about like mainstream media, even though like Ninja makes millions playing video games. Pro like the all star pros make millions playing every.
Yeah.
But like when you see mainstream media reporting on it, like on the news and stuff, they're laughing when they're talking about it. They're like,
Yeah, they don't
he's
take it as
just
serious
playing
and shit.
games, and it's like that man literally just told you he's making millions every year. Like, yeah, what's it
Really.
gonna take? And it's
It's
definitely
just like the norm for sure. They
yeah,
don't understand like it's completely out of their norms and like I think there was like the interview too of like the Bugga kid that won like the Fortnite
yeah,
championship
yeah,
and like
yeah.
won like hella money. Like
He
people
won
were
like
like,
16
"Oh, are you
million
gonna
or
still
something.
continue school?" Like they talked down to him essentially. It was really condescending how they like talked to him.
Yeah, yeah. No, they're
Like
laughing.
yeah, they were like
Like
laughing.
there was, no, I think it was him. Like there was this. Was it the white kid or like the African American kid? Because there's two that I saw that won like a Fortnite competition, and they were on the news.
Uh,
Because there's this
I
like
think it's Bugga, which is like
yeah, because there's like this younger African American kid who was on the news talking about how he won like $1 million, $2 million, and they asked him if he was going to continue school, and he's like, "Yeah, I plan on continuing school, but like I'm focusing a lot on this esports because obviously I can do it." And
yeah.
like, so they're just like laughing when he's saying it, like smirking at him, and I'm just like, "Yo, that's whack." And then at the end they give him like they're like, "Here, this is a present for you," blah blah blah, and it was like tickets to a like some sort of like outdoor park.
Oh really?
Yeah, they're like, so you could actually go outside in the real
That's
world.
cool.
I was like, yo, that's so rude. Like they basically just like spat in his face after that.
Yeah. They're
Like,
like, I don't care about your accomplishment. Like, do something like
yeah, go
real. Like,
outside.
yeah.
It's like, yo,
I
he's
think that's
making more money than you. What are you doing? Like, how can you
that's
still
the
be
thing. I
condescending?
think they also don't realize how like established esports is too. They feel like it's gonna be like something that dies in like a few years or something like that. Like people don't really care about it. Like unlike the mass media, they're like, it's not like sports where like you have to train every day and like there's like it's like the norm. Like people think like esports is just like, oh, anyone can do it. It doesn't take that much skill to, move your mouse around, click a little keyboard and stuff like that. But that's why like you were saying, like pros that actually like play games and like, actually kind of understand like you have to train and put in time into this shit is like Yeah, they understand a lot more.
Yeah, like because I interviewed some guy from Rogue Nation, and he was telling me like how it's like structured, right? He said like it's just like any other thing because he used to do basketball in high school. He said, and he said he compares it to having like being on the basketball team. He has to wake up and he plays games for 8-10 hours a day, but they're like
Yep.
scrims, they're practices. And then he said sometimes since he loves the game, he'll play for a little bit after. But he's like the same with basketball. I'll have practice, but I might still go shoot around outside on
Yeah.
my free time. He's like, but it's just like anything else. He's like, you play a game 8 hours a day, like in day out, you're gonna get tired of it, and it's not gonna
Yeah.
be as fun as it used to. But you still do it because you like it, like you love it. It's something you enjoy. But it's still like there's still days where it's like, oh, I don't want to scrim today, or I don't want to like do aim practice today, which I'm sure a lot of FPS players do. They sit in
Yeah.
like a shooting range or like do like I just read an article that I think it was called Aim Lab.
Yeah, I've been
Uh,
actually using that. Yeah.
yeah, they make like they're like growing fast, like super crazy, and they also like and they're making tons of money, and it's a training software for FPS
Yep.
players.
Yep.
And so like I don't know, people think they just sit down, play the game, and they're either good or they're not.
Yeah,
But
definitely
it's
not. You
I
gotta put in
mean,
time for sure.
I feel like there is a little bit of like you could have natural reflexes, but I feel like it's like any muscle, like you can train it. Like anybody could like it's the same thing saying about like traditional sports, right? If somebody trains hard enough, long enough for like basketball or football, you can definitely make it to that pro level, but you're
Yeah.
putting in the time like day in and day out. And
I mean,
you're
obviously there's like genetics, like height and like maybe like bone structure and all that stuff. But yeah, like you could still at X like at some variable like be somewhat good enough to play at some high level other than just like at the average person for sure. If you keep training more.
yeah, but I guess you're right with traditional sports there might be some barriers like never seen someone below 6 feet, I think, in the pros.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be wrong. There might have been somebody who did it, but it's definitely really rare.
Rare. Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. So I guess I don't know. We covered a lot of esports. I guess we could go on to like some. We could talk about some what are they called, like current events in esports.
Current events.
Have you
Oh,
heard,
okay.
do you know
Sure.
anything about any of the current events? What's happening?
I mean, like the biggest thing that I kind of been like kind of following and like hearing about is like the TSM
The
drama
double
with
lift
like
TSM
Lena
drama.
Double Lift. That's pretty funny, and I can see like a lot of points that are throwing at them.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's like the only current event that I follow. I don't really know much other than
Yeah, I think that's the
that.
biggest one in esports right now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's pretty quiet as far as news. Everybody's in quarantine still, pretty much. I
Yep.
think they're starting to roll out businesses being open and stuff, but it's still pretty much technically you're still supposed to be staying inside as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so, like the biggest thing is that TSM drama. There's tons of videos out. Everybody's talking about it.
Yep.
It's one of those things. I know I watched a podcast. Do you keep up with the Cloud9 podcast, the Nines or
No,
whatever?
I don't. I saw it was pretty funny. I didn't really keep up with it. The only
It
person
was
that I kind of like watched that talks about is like Thorin, but he's like kind of like
mhm.
biased on the sense that he's
Oh
on like
yeah.
the other like
Oh,
the side,
it was
like gang.
super bad. It's like there was Thorin and Monte Cristo. I mean, not to say
Yeah,
that like anything they said was bad, right? Like nothing was wrong. It's
yeah,
just you could obviously feel the bias in the way that they're
yeah.
delivering it. And I kind of felt bad because it was a podcast with Monte Cristo, Thorin, Loco Doco, and they brought on like an attorney, some like
Oh,
esports
really?
attorney, yeah.
Yeah,
And it felt pretty bad because I mean, Loco Doco is friends with a lot of the TSM
yeah. He used to be on
members.
TSM. Yeah,
Yeah, and he's still like I guess he has a long history because I didn't really keep up with a lot of the drama in esports, but apparently there's been like he has been a proponent for TSM, kind of being like a voice of content creation for the league organization. Even though I guess Monte Cristo and Thorin have been talking like I guess I wouldn't say bad, but they've been trying to bring light some of the negative stuff that TSM does for a
yeah,
while, and I guess Loco Doco has been kind of the opposite voice in that argument. And so having them all in a podcast was kind of was cool to watch. It was interesting, but it just kind of felt like because Loco Doco couldn't really defend
Keep up with
himself
them. Yeah.
because like he obviously like he's been proven so wrong, especially like if you're talking like so recent, like all the stuff that's been happening.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to defend. I mean,
So
I don't even think Loco Dogo's. I mean, I don't really watch that much of his stuff, but Loco Dogo seems really timid too against like Monte Cristo and Thorn, who are really outspoken. So
yeah, no, I
it's kind of
mean
hard
Monte
to
Cristo didn't
defend.
really go at him too much. He just kept stating general facts and like obviously delivering it in a very uh I don't know aggressive tone. But
Okay, yeah,
but
passive aggressive.
yeah, but Thorin was like he was throwing low key jabs here and there in the podcast, and I was just like, yikes! Like Loco couldn't even say anything about it, and
Thorn's
so
wild, dude.
because even though like Loco was there agreeing with everything they were saying because he feels really bad about the situation because he's just like, why are you guys handling it so poorly?
Yeah,
But like he was there as like he's not like he just felt like a little punchy like it almost felt like they had him on the podcast just to be like, hey, we've been telling you this all these years, you haven't been
yeah,
listening, you've been saying that they're like the best organization ever, but look at what they're doing.
yeah.
And he's just sitting
Think
there like,
TSM
god.
is pretty good at making money though. Like I don't know if what Lena said is true or not, but they said that TSM's like the only organization that is profitable, and that I think that's due to the fact that they don't own a CS:GO team anymore, and like Call of Duty team. Like those teams apparently cost a lot of money because of franchising.
Mhm.
But like like 100 Thieves and like EG and all of them have like uh was it CS:GO teams and whatnot, so it costs a lot of money. But I think TSM, I think local Dokus is like TSM is probably one of the best just because how established they are. They're like one of the youngest, or oldest teams, and they have so much like money and like content creation. Like if you compare it to like COG and like what else is like an old team like yeah, COG, like I guess like
team
Phase and whatnot. Like
Team Liquid's
they're
technically old
literally,
too
yeah, but they
because
were like in a slump for a long time.
they used to be because
Curse.
they weren't big back in the day,
Yeah.
but Curse merged with them.
Yep.
So I mean, technically, it's like Team Liquid and Curse formed into one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's I don't know. It was just interesting. It's and like the attorney said, there's nothing illegal that happened. It's just kind of more of
Yeah.
a moral like thing that everybody's been
It's like a
talking
weed
about.
thing. Yeah.
So
Uh,
I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how to feel about it. I mean, because like they were saying, like they're a couple, right? That was what Monte Cristo and Thorin were saying, and Thorin was making the point that obviously this happens. He's like
yeah.
he said his problem with it was that they try to act like be on a high horse and say it wasn't happening and like just completely like shut down everybody's criticism about what was going on because like this or that like because Lena went on I think offline TV's podcast
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
and she was just talking about how everybody's just being so negative for no reason. They did everything by the book,
Yeah.
like, and then now all this comes out and it's just like he's just like they're just like you'll just admit that it's a conflict of interest, like,
Yeah.
and I guess
Just
it
because it's like morally, or not morally, but like by the books, like, oh, right, said it's clear and whatnot. Like, there's like just like off that one thing where like she was talking in that meeting call, like with Double Lift right next to it, like stuff like that happens. And like, she was also saying like how like in meetings, Double Lift will like not like see the boundaries of like her as his employer president, and like her as his girlfriend, and like he'll goof off in like meetings and whatnot, and just it blurs the line between like business and actual like real life things.
yeah like well I believe in the podcast Monte Cristo talked about how he read I guess a confidential summary of their internal investigation of
Yeah,
TSM. And I guess their whole thing was like pretty much what he said. To summarize what it said was that Riot Games just kind of went to TSM, talked to Reggie, talked to Lena, talked to Double Lift, and be like, "Have they told you anything confidential? Have you guys talked about anything confidential?" And they're just like,
yeah,
"No," and they're like, "Okay, then no problem here."
yeah. That's essentially it. And then like there was like the whole like poaching thing too. They're like, did they poach you? And they went to Liquid, and he's like, nope. Like I mean, Double Lift just wanted to go to the team, and like
What?
Thorne was saying, like there's no way to like prove that there's no poaching, right? It's just like word of mouth that nothing happened. Like Double Lift obviously could have wanted to go to TSM, but the fact that she's dating the president could obviously also influence him, and they can't really prove that unless he says straight up like, "Hey, yeah, I went to TSM because I'm dating them, and it's just better that way or whatnot."
I mean, their relationship aside, though, I feel like it would have happened anyway. Kind of what Double Lift said in his like personal video that he made about the topic.
Yeah,
But like I feel like what like Thorne's point and Monte Cristo's point, I think, was valid. Where just to avoid this whole drama, what they could have done was just have Lena not be involved in the League of Legends part of TSM, as long as Double
yeah,
Lift is on the team. Easy as that is fixed. There's no more like of this conflict of interest issue at all, and no chance of
yeah,
this drama happening because she wouldn't be involved with anything that he's involved in because
yeah,
they're putting that wall there. But
yeah,
instead, they decided to keep things status quo and just kind of act like nothing was going to happen. And then it was bad too because Lena made a Reddit post after it came out and pretty much admitted that this was a commonplace thing that happens all the time. It's just he didn't have his like voice, the voice limiter on, and so it
yeah.
picked up her
Bar check. Yeah,
conversation. And I was just like, that doesn't help anything.
that doesn't help. Like the point is just like he's literally like an employee that hearing like stuff at like the CEO level type things is just not
Yeah,
that's not common business practice. That's like me and like being in every like earning calls with the CEO as like a lowly employee. It's just like it doesn't.
doesn't make
I mean, it
sense.
doesn't really make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It's like you're needing. It's a conversation about another player, right? Like that was. I feel like obviously that wasn't the main issue. Like obviously the issue is the conflict of interest there, but I feel like the biggest thing was just how like negatively this whole situation probably affected Dardoch.
Yeah,
like he, like the fact that like now every like because they were talking about on the podcast too. Like a lot of negotiations is that other teams don't know who wants to pick up free agents or who's trying to pick up this player who they're trying to trade off. And so
yeah,
they can kind of bluff their way and like get better deals or like try to help that
exactly.
player get a better deal than what they probably would have gotten if they knew that like say like I don't know Team Liquid wanted to pick up Dardoch now instead of having him be on TSM and they're just kind of negotiating. But if Team Liquid was to find out that nobody wanted Dardoch and they're like
Yeah,
the only organization in the conversation, they could give him whatever price they want.
yeah.
Kind of be
That's a
like
good point.
take it
Like
or
I didn't
leave
even
it.
think about that. It's just like an auction essentially. It's just like if no one else is bidding against you, like why would you have to bid any higher than what
The
you
bare minimum,
want
yeah.
essentially? Yeah, exactly. So it's yeah. I guess that's a really good point. Um, I think a lot of people also wanted to bring up the point was like it wasn't good that the teammates knew, but obviously like everyone in TSM probably knew that Dardoch wasn't gonna be on TSM anymore. So that like kind of is thrown out the question. But it's more of like the yeah, just information leaking from being in that situation.
I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't the worst. I guess I don't know. It's just I feel like Monte Cristo and Thorne are really taking advantage of the situation, being that they're in this hot water and they've been at odds with DSM for a while.
TSM for a while, yeah. Taking this situation, just like kind of like proving the point. Like, I told you so. I told you so. Essentially,
And so, how much time do you spend on Twitch? Is that something you do a lot? Do you like
yeah.
using Twitch?
I. It's funny. Like, I mean, I work from home, so I work and I'm still at home. So like after that, like I usually play a few games, but like gaming has been. I don't know. It's not as fun as it used to be anymore, and I can't tell if that's because it's quarantine. I'm doing it like every day, and it's like easier to do, or just because like I'm getting tired of like the same old games like League of Legends and
Oh yeah, I've been
Valorant,
hopping
and
around
stuff
so
like that.
much.
Yeah, and so it's like I don't know if that's the thing anymore, but yeah, I've been on Twitch a lot more now, just like kind of watching streamers, or like YouTube and whatnot, and just like our animes is all I
Yeah.
really do anymore.
I feel that like because I bring it up because that's like I think we'll end it on this kind of current event, right? Um, Twitch finally formed a Twitch council. I don't
Oh,
know if you saw all
yeah,
that news. Like,
I saw a lot of drama about that for
because
sure.
I know Joe. he definitely posted a lot about it. He was
Oh,
reading
Joe
up on
posted
it.
about?
Like he was looking a lot into it. Uh,
Oh,
he's the one that actually told me about the TSM drama, and he's the one that told
oh,
me
okay.
about and he's also the one that introduced me to the Twitch Council. But I mean, he introduced me to the Twitch Council, but I kind of found the drama just after because I mean, right now, if anybody looks up Twitch Council, they're gonna be seeing the drama behind it,
Yeah,
and so like it's been big news. A lot of people are kind of like disappointed.
it's pretty disappointing. But like the CEO came out and he said that um even though they're not official employees, it's just like people that are like bringing diversity. Like irregardless of that, it's just like it shows them in a bad light, like that they would hire like these people under their council to let them like I don't know, give input into the company while this person is saying XYZ, like double standards and
Yeah, I mean,
feeling like superior to everyone else essentially.
yeah, I've looked at the clips. I feel like everybody's seen the clips by now. It's pretty bad, but I don't know. Like my whole argument, right, for it was I feel like I can see why they put her on the council from like
Yeah,
a from a devil's advocate point of view, right? Because I don't, me personally, like my personal beliefs, I don't think she should be on the council. But from like an objective point of view, right, I can see why they have her on the council because
yeah,
like she has those super contrasting views that I feel like is to an extent beneficial to a council. Maybe someone more tactful with those kind of
yeah,
views
for
might
sure.
be
More
better on
tactful would be really
the
nice.
would be better on the council, but I can see why like they chose her because she has those views and she could be like that odd voice in every like meeting or whatever that kind of brings up issues that maybe not everybody can see.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I feel like there's other options out there.
yeah,
Cuz I mean, there was uh recently I remember on Twitch I saw like when quarantine first started that Twitch had on their like official channel, they had like a drag queen day or something.
uh-huh.
It was like all drag queen like streamers and stuff. I feel
Yeah,
like having somebody from like that event would have been better. Like I feel like they have similar views, right? Like
yeah,
they're part of somewhat of the same community. I won't say the same, but obviously like they come from a very like marginal group,
hmm,
which is kind of I feel like what they're going for.
yeah,
But like she's just very, I don't know, it's not, I feel like they should replace her with someone of similar views but is more tactful
yeah.
because it's what everything she's been saying is so bad. Like it's so
It's
bad
really
from
bad.
like any
Yeah,
point of view. Like I feel like even like those of her same community are gonna be like are looking at her like you're making us all look bad. Like this isn't what
bad.
all
Yeah,
of us think. And like
yeah,
she's just like especially like what was it? The one that really like because obvious like her statements about like cis white males or whatever and voice chatting games is whatever. Like I feel like it's I don't know, it's the cis white male thing obviously is a big hit in the community for like obviously white males. Like they're
yeah.
very mad about that because I mean, Asmongold made a good point. Like,
It's double standards, right?
yeah,
It's
like
like
if anybody said that
you
about,
replace white with anything else, and it's
and it
just
would have
like
been
you're
a huge
yeah,
deal. Yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, I understand that, but I feel like it's more so like her. She's obviously power hungry, and she
yeah. The
definitely
fact that she
has
just
it
said like no
gone
one
to her
can like
head.
kick me off this thing. Yeah, she's really
Yeah.
power hungry and has like his ego like
Yeah.
above all personality or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like you can't do anything about it. Like I have power. Twitch endorses me. I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
yo,
just
that's
like
so bad. Like you should
it's
have
so bad.
somebody on any council, I think, with that kind of mindset.
Yeah,
And
it's like
like
think of like someone on like the board of like I don't know like Amazon or something. Like oh yeah, you can't kick
making
me
a
off. I can
statement
say
like
whatever
that.
I want.
Yeah.
It's just like no, that's like on a board you should be open to criticism. And the fact that you're not like just by saying that it just shows you that like she doesn't care. Like she just
Yeah,
is above all.
and then she said something about like all like gamers being something. I forgot what the term was that she used.
Is
But
related to the voice chat thing?
no, she just said like all gamers are something. Like I don't know. It was just like racist or something. Something along those lines, right? She generalized
Uh,
the entire gaming community as being like racist or something. And
huh.
it was kind of bad because like she's on a council that's supposed to like pretty much the whole people that you're a council of are gamers. You pretty much
Yeah.
put down that whole community. So it's like, why are you on the council?
Yeah,
And
she definitely I maybe I can see her point, but yeah, she definitely needs to be more tactful. Like the fact that she just says that outright is just like, okay, like what can we do about it then? Like you're the council, like you should be like I don't know, like explaining it a little bit more and like explaining how to fix it and whatnot, not just
yeah, it's a safety
accusing us of
council.
it.
You're
Yeah.
making people feel the opposite of safe. Like nobody feels like they're protected on the platform right now with you on
Yeah,
it.
dude, I don't feel like her being on it makes me feel comfortable on Twitch and more welcomed. So
Because it feels
I
bad
don't know.
because like that council's formed, there's this, and then there's also like it was formed out of the double standard that a lot of the Twitch moderation team has. I don't know who's on the team. No one knows who's on the team that handles the bans on Twitch. But
Yeah.
there's been like super crazy like double standards as far as like the whole Alinity situation was huge.
Yep.
She had to literally ban herself from the platform before they did anything
Yeah.
about it. And then most recently, Pokemon had something happen,
Yep.
and
But I don't think
she
she got
hasn't banned.
banned.
She hasn't been banned. No,
Yeah.
she even said she would
So
understand why she would get banned, but it's like, but she hasn't been banned. And then there's like this one tweet. I forgot who it was by, but he said it really well. He's like,
the common sense thing, right?
yeah, he was just no. He said something
Yeah.
like, yeah, by common sense standards, she shouldn't be banned.
Yep.
By Twitch's like double standards, she won't be banned.
Yep.
And then it was something
Like
like by like Twitch's BS standards, she should be banned.
yeah.
Like it,
So I don't. It's really dumb. It's really dumb. Like Fedmeister, do you know him? Like he's a just
mhm.
chatting. He's also on
Yeah, yeah.
Offline TV. Like
Mhm.
he was scrolling through Twitter and like just like literally a millisecond or a second of him scrolling down, he saw like a Linity thing and he got banned for like a day, and he had to appeal for that.
Yeah, I think
But
it was
like
like 60 minutes after it happened, right? Like he gets
yeah,
banned.
it's exactly like common sense. Yeah, like he shouldn't be banned. But like the fact that Linity didn't get banned until she begged them to ban her essentially, while him like accidentally doing it too. In both situations, they're like relatively the same, but like one person gets banned longer and faster than the other person. It doesn't make sense.
And that's what Twitch Safety Council is supposed to be, but it's not looking like it's the change that the community wants or needs.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are asking her to get off of it because it honestly it doesn't give them a good light for sure. Like
It
it's just
doesn't,
got created and like they're already getting a backlash. It's not
because
a good
like
light.
everybody else on the council is known in the community as being like respected and like level headed and has
Yeah,
very agreeable points of views on like a lot of the issues that are happening from the community. And then there's her.
yeah. I don't actually know anyone else on the council, but the fact that I didn't hear anything bad about them just already like proves that they're I don't
I,
know. I guess they're good people.
I didn't know all of them, but I know Co Carnage. I think he's one of
Mhm.
the bigger ones because he's been very outspoken community wise. Like he's very a like a Twitch community person. Like Twitch
Mhm.
community knows him, likes him. And then there's Zizarin, who I know, and he's a Path of Exile streamer.
I see.
But he's like he definitely has positive viewpoints about a lot of things. He's not controversial really.
Mhm.
And so like the rest of them I feel like are all the same by like that sort of standard. Like since two
Yeah.
like the ones that I know so far have been very like level headed and I haven't heard anything about the other ones. I'm
Yeah.
assuming like she's like the outlier in this council as far as being like super out there and just not what the council needs.
Yeah. Definitely not. I think they should definitely replace her with someone else
Yeah, and
before this gets even out of more hand.
she even like threatened other streamers like indirectly. She was just like, "There's a lot of people out there who should be scared of me,"
Yeah,
and
yeah, I
rightfully
heard that. I was
so.
just like, what the heck, dude? Like, I don't know. It's just really sus. It's really sus, to
Like
be
she's
honest.
obviously gonna be going out there like try like from that statement, it's obvious that she's her intention is to like target certain people with like
Target or just
with the new power that she has technically.
yeah, target or just like anyone that like even like opposes her view is just like, hey, like this person is like I don't know, like going against my views and it's because like just from off what she's saying about like the voice chat thing, like it's like oppression essentially, like, oh, this person is saying like X, Y, and Z and it like it's really harmful to me and whatnot, so that she can go and like punish whoever essentially that opposes her view.
Yeah, it's really bad. Oh, Twitch has a lot to work on. TSM
Yeah,
has a lot of recovery to do. That's kind of like the current events of gaming right now. I feel like there's nothing too big other than Valorant, obviously, but Valorant's just a hot topic right now. It's definitely a buzzword,
yeah,
but just because it's a Riot Games title, but and they and it's a good thing they're not more in the current events with new stuff because they're handling their game well. I don't think
seems like
anybody
it.
has negative views on Valorant. I feel like they've all been really happy with the beta test. They
Hmm.
feel like everything's been going well. Their anti cheat has been amazing. Like,
It's pretty. It works pretty well, but there's also been like I don't know if you looked it up too, but the anti cheat has been causing a lot of people problem too. So
yeah,
I'm glad to hear that they're fixing that too.
I looked at the negatives, right? Like some people's PCs were overheating because it stops any like software that's messing with the
Yeah.
hardware, and so like
Yep.
hopefully they can fix that. I don't know how they can fix that though without pulling back on some of their security because it's
Well,
supposed
I
to,
think how
it's there so that there isn't any tampering with the hardware so that they know that there's no external hardware cheats happening,
yeah,
but
I think
I don't know.
like one way around that I would think is just like partnering with like those companies like that control like the CPU and whatnot, and just like seeing like how it's done. I don't know if that's even really possible, but like that's one way about it. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
cause like I was telling Anthony, like like my RGB things aren't like working as much. Like my keyboard like changes like to the default light now instead of like what I want it to be.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
was
no,
having
mine
like
too.
yeah, it just wasn't working when I started playing Valorant. But I think some of the functionality is back. Like my RAM coloring is working now, but my keyboard still isn't working. So I think they're fixing out the smaller details.
Yeah, I mean it's good. I feel like Valorant's definitely on track to be a very solid game.
Yeah.
They listen to a lot of balancing advice from the people playing.
Yep.
They're pretty quick to fix things like the peeker's advantage and the running headshots that have been happening.
Yeah, that was so dumb. Yeah.
So it's
I mean, they're releasing soon too, and so I
yeah, it's
mean,
like June 2nd, right, or something like that.
June, yeah, June something.
Oh, so they feel like they're almost ready to release it, and yeah. So I mean, I feel like that about sums up current events. Is there anything else
Yeah,
you
there,
think?
yeah, there
Yeah.
isn't really much current event going on. Like, and then what I was gonna say was like, I feel like this TSM thing and stuff like that will probably just blow over when LCS starts playing more, and like people are, you know,
Move on.
having their mind in something else.
Yeah.
Essentially, I think it's just a lot bigger now because like people are at home and there's not much going on. So like any little thing that they're
Yeah.
on is just blows up a little bit more just because people like that's the only thing they can pay attention to.
Like people are bored.
But yeah, people are. I'm bored too, man. I haven't done anything really.
If all you can do is grind out games, and even that,
Yeah,
that's
even that, like, I
you
don't
get
even feel
bored.
like grinding like anymore.
Yeah, I've played so many games this past like week, like, but not even like seriously played it. I've just hopped from game to game, like, okay, I'm bored of this. Okay, I'm bored of this,
Yeah,
and it's just been bad. But I feel like we talked about a lot, covered a lot.
for
Went
sure.
through a little bit of a collegiate esports background for anybody out there who's looking at esports at the college level. There's definitely a lot more opportunities nowadays than there were a couple of years ago. It's growing a lot faster. There's a ton of scholarships out there. I plan on making a video in the future about a couple scholarships for anybody in high school that plays games that they could take advantage of some nice scholarships that are out there. But
Yeah,
yeah, appreciate you coming, Davis.
for sure.
I think it's been a good talk. We talked about a lot of things, had a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I appreciate anybody out there that's watching this either live or after it goes on the YouTube. So
Yep.
yeah, let's end it the normal YouTube way by liking and subscribing. If you
Yep.
want to see more content like this, want to have more people interviewed, want to hear more. Do you guys want to hear more current events? Is that something you guys like to see? I don't know. I don't know if I like covering drama too much. It's a little weird for me. I don't usually do it, but it's definitely a hot topic, and it's quarantine, so there's nothing else to really talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys in my next video or next interview, whenever that is. Leave a comment what you guys think. Anybody else you think I should try to get on here. And yeah, have a good quarantine. Stay safe out there and keep on gaming, gamers.
Peace.